Each wind turbine is 265 feet tall, and the blades are 118 feet long. Katie, aggressive tactics by fire crews have slowed the fire's growth and all but saved dozens of homes along the lake. Matt, we have confirmed that this is a homicide situation. While the brain rattlers may be fine for some riders, others prefer something a little bit slower. Thanks, Matt. It was a long day for law enforcement, but their patience and tactics paid off, with a peaceful end to a more than 7-hour ordeal and a murder charge in the shooting death of a 32-year-old man. This is how it ended, with 49-year-old Mark Francich in handcuffs, charged with 1 count of deliberate homicide. And 8 hours earlier, this is how it began.
About 9 o'clock this morning, I heard 5 shots. First 2 were just bang, bang, and then the other 3 were separated by a significant pause, bang, bang, bang.
When police responded to the calls, they discovered a body, dead of what may be gunshot wounds, lying in the yard of this home at 1106 5th Avenue North.
And we attempted contact with the male suspect inside the residence for a number of hours. Couldn't make contact initially.
Police took sniper positions on nearby rooftops and the negotiations began. Neighbors say the house was sometimes a source of noise and trouble, but they did not expect this.
And we're scared because we know it's very dangerous. There's guns and, so I'm very concerned.
But a very patient police force and skilled negotiators prevailed.
Ultimately, we were able to make contact through a family member and our negotiator. And the subject then came out of the apartment and was taken into custody without incident by the team on the scene.
The standoff made it unsafe for law enforcement to process the scene where the body was found. It remained untouched during the entire event.
And at this point, we're investigating and looking at what potential charges might be.
From the highway, they may look like oversized pinwheels, but these steel and fiberglass turbines are complicated machines. Glacier Wind Farm project manager Klaus Obel has been working on turbines since 1978.
The first turbines I worked on were about 60 feet tall. The blades were 15 feet, so that's one of the main differences. They just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Each wind turbine is 265 feet tall, and the blades are 118 feet long. But you really don't get a good idea of just how big these things are when you're standing on the ground and looking up. The best way? Climb up on top of one and look down. And you really can't beat the view. Technicians take a tiny elevator to a box or cell that houses the turbine. This is what it looks like on the outside, and this is what it's like inside. Hydraulics powering the blades and the turbine generating the electricity. So what's it like if this is your office?
Hot in the summer and cold in the winter and peaceful.
Everything is computerized from diagnosis to operation and can be controlled from as far away as Chicago. The 140 turbines on this farm use a tiny amount of electricity themselves, but they generate enough to power about 25,000 homes in the U.S. And if you want yours to be one of them...
Most utilities have a plan where you can opt to buy what they call green power or wind power. And it's just a matter of talking to the local utility and get it set up.
In Etheridge, Robbie Ann McPherson reporting for Montana's news station. Loading their gear onto a plane that will take them far from home. These guardsmen of the 120th Security Forces are taking the first step this morning on a long journey. After being assigned weapons and gear, they assembled in the wee hours Friday at the Montana Air National Guard Base. A quick bus ride to Holman Aviation and more waiting. But the guardsmen say they are more than up to the task ahead, deploying to the Middle East.
Absolutely. We've been getting a lot of training the last several months, and we're actually going to get a little bit more training here in Texas. We're going to spend a few weeks there brushing up on a few things, and then we're off.
It's a hardship to leave home for months, no matter how you look at it. These men and women said their goodbyes during the recent weeks, and not having family around as they leave this morning is bittersweet for Master Sergeant Stephen Spurl.
My youngest daughter had trouble with saying goodbyes last night, and I'm glad we said them last night versus here this morning, that's for sure.
Yeah, I visited my family in Idaho. We spent Christmas together and just went around the state, seeing various family members and relatives, said my goodbyes.
Tough goodbyes are a way of life in a military career. The way they see it, they have a job to do. And it turns out, So do we back home.
Mostly for the families that are being left behind. The community is there for them. So I'm thankful for that, knowing that there is an avenue for my family to help them get through this deployment with me.
In Great Falls, Robbie Ann McPherson for Montana's news station. They're a staple of carnivals, fairs, and amusement parks. But what makes these mechanical marvels so much fun?
Do you want to be inside or do you want to be outside? Do you want to be high or do you want to be low? Do you want to spin fast or do you want to spin slow?
Thomas Carnival knows its way around the Midway. The family-owned business has been traveling the country setting up carnivals for more than 70 years and 3 generations. It turns out there's a science to spinning. Talk to me a little bit about the engineering aspect.
Well, ride manufacturers from across the United States and in Europe, where we get most of our rides, design these rides very carefully. And there's 2 elements to the design. There's the safety and the operation, and there's the setup and the teardown. They all have to go onto a single truck or 2 trucks, and we've got to be able to get them from one place to another.
And the crowds love the old rides.
The Tilt-A-Whirl is one of the most popular rides on the Midway still, and that was invented in 1927.
And the gnarly new ones.
Well, the Spider has a concentric in it. That means there's a chain going one direction, and inside that tube there's a chain going the other direction. And what that allows the ride to do is to have an oscillating effect. Tubs go around and around, but they go up and down at the same time.
But the most popular ride on the Midway is the one the kids love, and Mom and Dad can stomach after all that fair food.
The ride we're riding on right now, called the Century Wheel, is a gondola tubs, and families ride that together, and every year that takes this Century Wheel takes the most tickets of any ride.
And in a business that regularly hurls human bodies around, safety is priority number 1.
Every ride's got a manual. Our foreman, we have a foreman for each ride, and then we have a group of supervisors that supervise the foreman. They have to know how to put it together properly. And when you're done setting up, you have to inspect it and operate it and make sure it's running properly before you offer it up for the public to ride.
While the brain rattlers may be fine for some riders, others prefer something a little bit slower. At the Montana State Fair, Robbie Ann McPherson reporting for Montana's news station.